Greeting, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to lesson 1 of this series. And we're going to be doing databases, basically connecting our Delphi code to a Delphi program. And we're going to be using a paper which was written in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, paper 1, 2018, November. And this is the structure of the database that we're going to be using. And unfortunately, the database is locked. But in a way, that is good because even in your exams, that's what you'll find. Your database will be locked. You'll not have access to the database whatsoever. So this is a structure of the database that you're going to be working with. So it has two tables. The first table is TBL employees with these fields, and then this is the sample of the data that is in there, and then we have TBL payments, and this is the structure of the database. All right, and this is the sample of the data that is in there, and then this is the relationship that exists between the table. So within the table, so one employee will have multiple payments being done to them because they earn on a monthly basis. So one person will be paid multiple times. So this makes sense. All right. So I've already created a folder structure. Like I said, we can't open the database. So this is my folder structure. I have a folder on the desktop called programming. Then inside there, Delphi 2020, because I also do other programming languages. And then we have DB connection, which is the program for the day. All right. So in order for you to understand this program that you're going to be doing here, you need basic knowledge of two things. One will be objects and classes, and two will be dynamically creating components, like dynamically creating patterns and whatnot. So we're going to be stealing some concepts from these two aspects. All right. So let's get started. We're going to create our program now, and we're going to save it right here. All right. So let's open our Delphi program. Right, now that our Delphi is open, we're going to go File, New, and then we're going to go to VLC Forms Application Delphi. That's where we're going to be. So this is going to be our program. Okay, I'm going to use page controllers because I'm reluctant to create multiple forms. So I'm going to use page controllers. I'm just going to search there, page C. There is page control. I'm going to put that there. Just widen this up like that. Then I'm going to add my pages. I'm going to add new page, then tap this one. I'm going to add another page because remember our database has got two tables. So this page is going to be for employees, and this one is going to be for payments. Now we need to edit this. It should be tab sheet one. It should be employees, and this one should be payments. So we're going to right click, and then we're going to go to view as text. Then you're going to go down there. There is tab sheet 1. You can do this via code, by the way. So there is really no need to always doing this. You can do it via code, but it's fine. Just change the caption of the tab sheet. All right. So we're going to call this one employees, and then this one we're going to call it payments. Right. And then we're going to go back there and right click and say view as form. As you can see, this has been changed. Isn't that snazzy? Super snazzy. Right, so now I'm going to add a DB grid. So DB grid. So I'm going to go put a DB grid there. I'm going to be displaying all my data. I'm going to make that bigger. Alright, so that's just about enough. Then the space below is going to be basically for other buttons and edits, whatever. And then here I'm going to need another DB grid, and then I'm going to add that DB grid there. And you must make it a habit to rename your components so that it's easier to remember and to refer to them throughout the program. So I'm going to go straight and change the name of this. It's called DB grid 1. I'm going to have DBD teachers. Right, and then I'm going to go to payments. I need this one. I'm going to call this one DBD payments. Right, so this one's for payments, and then this one is for teachers. Right, that T, it's a convention, not a rule, that you should always have a capital letter there after the prefix. It's a convention which makes your program much easier to read. So I think with this one, we stuck to that convention, which is perfect. All right, so the setup now is done. In fact, I should have just prepared this before. All right, now before we do anything, I'm going to save my program, right? So let me just save that. I'm going to click this one to save all. As you can see there, the shortcut for that. And this is the mistake that learners usually make. You just click save and then they click save again, change this and then say save, but not realizing they are not saving in the correct folder. So you need to navigate to your folder. All right, so mine is on the desktop, inside programming, inside Delphi 2020, inside DB connection. That's where I'm going to save it. Okay, so this system is for paying salaries, so I'm going to call it salaries underscore u, because this is a unit, as you can see, Delphi unit. Then I'm going to save that. Then another pop-up is going to come up. I'm going to say salaries, which is going to scroll down there and then cancel that. Now it's going to be underscore p, because now this is a project file. I'm going to save. All right. Now that this is done, this is going to come later, but we need a unit where we're going to define our class, because the first thing that we want to do here is to define our connection class. Right, so let's go ahead, go to file, new. Now we only need a unit. Right, so there's my unit. Now before I put anything in there, let me first save it as well. Since I've saved before in this folder, then the pop-up is gonna go to my directory automatically, so I'm already there. So I'm gonna call this one db connection underscore u. All right, so I'm going to save that. All right, now that we have this, we have some items that we need to add under interface, which is two of those things going to be uses, and then the bell went off, and then it's going to be type. All right, under uses, it's where we're going to be listing all the libraries that we are going to need. All right, usually I just come back here and copy the library that I have here, but usually for this task, I'm actually going to need db. I'm also going to need ADO DB, for ADO table, ADO connection, and stuff like that. So I'm gonna need that as well. And I have DB grids that I'm working with here, so I'm gonna have DB grids. I may have some dialogues, so or like show message. So let me say dialogues. And if I happen to need a library at a later stage, I'm going to add it. But right now, I'm just gonna, add the one that I think are crucial. And then since we're gonna be working with classes and objects, let's put classes as well. We're gonna probably need that. Classes. DB controls, since we're working with a database, yeah. DB controls. If you press Control space, you should be able to see your suggestions. So this is the one I'm looking for. And maybe you may need standard controls. You can just say std control space. There it is, standard controls. If there's any other library that I'm going to need, I'm going to have to define it. But for now, let me leave those. I think those are the ones I need the most. All right, and then you know how we define the class now. So we're going to call this one connection. I'm following the Delphi convention. I would see all their classes, they start with T, not coffee. Okay, that is super snazzy. Now, equal to class, and then inside there, we're going to say the object. A lot of times learners, okay, object, that's it. A lot of times learners don't understand why we put this inside there. Actually, what we're doing here, we are applying inheritance here. We are creating this class, but we want all the characteristics of the classes that have been created in Delphi. All right, so here we want all the characteristics of a class called TObjects, so that we don't have to redefine methods to do a whole lot of other things that we're still going to do. All right, so this is the beauty of object-oriented programming. We reuse the code. We write it once and use it many times. All right, and below this, we're going to have two things. Well, we're not going to have any private fields, but I'm just going to put it there for control. control what exactly, I don't know. Private. Then we're gonna have public. Public. All right. So everything that you're gonna need is gonna be under public. All right. So I'm gonna define a procedure here, or a method that is going to establish the connection. This is a method we're going to call every time we want to connect to the database. All right, so I'm going to define that method here, which is procedure. I'm going to call it DB connection. So this is a method I'm going to call. This method does not have any parameters whatsoever. Now, you will remember a shortcut. You click there, the method, and press Shift Control C. And then that should create your method down there, as you can see, T connection. All right. So now, since we want to create this connection, we have to define an instance variable for an ADO connection. You'll remember that before we used these components found under dbgo, if I'm not mistaken, which are ADO connection, ADO table, and ADO query. We're going to use all of these, but we're not going to drag them from here. We are going to create objects of them. So I'm going to create a variable, which is going to be an instance variable. All right, so let me go there and create an instance variable now for this connection. So I'm going to create a variable of type ADO connection. All right, so let's go there. And I'm going to create my variable here. I'm going to have a var here. I'm going to say var. And below here, I'm going to add obj connection, which is, I'm trying to say it's an object of an ADO, of the ADO connection. Okay, so this is going to be of the type AD, control space, ADO connection. There it is. All right, so you can see this knot does not exist in physical form. I didn't drag it from dbgo. I'm saying I want to create an object of this. Okay, now remember, this must be placed in a form somewhere. So I must have a form where I'm going to be placing all of this stuff that I'm going to be creating using code. So I'm not going to go file, new, and then say form Delphi. No, but we're going to create our imaginary form here. I'm going to call it the form. You can call it whatever you want. And this is also an instance variable, and it's of a type E form. Right? So that's that. And after writing that, and you can see it's giving us an error there. It says undeclared identifier. We know that T-form exists. So what does this mean? The library that gives us all the tools to work with forms had not been imported. So we're going to import that right now. So it's going to be forms. All right, look at that. The error is gone because this library is present now. So now the computer does recognize, the Delphi does recognize this word T-form now. So okay, so these two are instance variables. So I'm going to be using them to create instances of the form. I'm going to use this one to create an instance of the connection, of the ADO connection, right? Which is super snazzy. Now that's all that is set up, we can come back now to our method to actually create this ADO connection and place it on this imaginary form that we have over here, which is called the form, right? So we're going to go obj. Why is it not typing now? So we're going to go obj connection, which is equal to GADO. Now you remember I said you're going to need some knowledge of creating components dynamically. You remember when you're creating buttons, you'll have a name of the button, colon, T button there, and then you'll say name of the button equal to T button dot create, and then you define the owner. All right. So I'm going to have ADO connection, And then inside there, I need to specify the owner. In fact, not done. I need to dot create. And then inside there, as you can see, I need to specify the owner. What do we mean by that? Where is this object being placed? Now that I'm creating it, where am I placing it? I'm placing it on the form. All right. Now remember, when we're creating buttons and labels dynamically, we also defined a parent. But in this case, we are not going to define a parent for this object. The reason being, for buttons and labels, we defined a parent because we wanted to get some characteristics of the form. For instance, we wanted our button to inherit a certain font. We wanted our button to inherit a certain color. You notice that the buttons that we created would have the same font as the form, would have the same color of the form. Basically, we were applying what is called inheritance in programming. Right? But here we know that ADO connection will not be visible. So we don't need any font, we don't need any color. All we want this to connect us to the database. So we are not going to define the parent over there. And you remember, if you're creating the connection using Delphi Object Inspector, there is a part where you need to insert your username and a password. There is that login, the pop-up that comes out, which is quite irritating. So we're going to get rid of that. We're just going to disable that. So now we're going to say obj dot. You see, we are getting all these methods now. We have inherited these methods from which class? TADO connection. Without this, we wouldn't have these methods. Okay, so we are actually looking for login prompt there, and you can see it's a boolean. So to activate it, we say true. To deactivate it, we say false, and we want to deactivate it, so we're going to say false right there. All right. And remember, we also need a connection string. All right, so that's what we're going to write right now. So it's going to be obj connection dot connection string dot connection string there, and we're going to write that long irritating string that nobody keeps in their head. All right, so let's go for it. It's going to be quite long, but it has to be done. So we need to specify our jet engine. So we're going to go provider, and our provider is going to be, okay, if you notice my database, I think it's an older version, like before 2000, so it's going to be MTB. So the extension is MTB. So the engine that I'm going to use is 4.0. All right, so it's going to be Microsoft dot jet, not jet store, dot OLEDB dot 4.0. All right, I wish I could just copy this from somewhere because it's really too long. And then we're gonna add, we also need to add the file that you're gonna be working with. So let's do just that. Let me come this side. So it's going to be, we're gonna have a plus there, and then we're gonna have another inverted comma inside there. It's gonna be data source. It's going to be data source, which is going to be equal to the name of our database, and the name of our database is payments.db. So I'm going to just copy that. I'm reluctant to type, so I just copy the name, and it helps because it makes sure that you type in the correct thing there, and then I'm going to close that inside there, and then I'm going to add another semicolon there, and then it's going to be a plus in there. All right. And then after that, I need to add the mode. Here, basically, I'm setting the permissions, the read, the write permissions. So with this database, we want to be able to read, we want to be able to write the database, isn't it? So we're going to add that as well. So let me add another set of inverted commas, another plus there. So inside there, I'm going to add mode, which is going to be equal to read, right. Now, the irritating part about writing this out is the fact that you cannot use your predictive text, which usually comes very handy when you're typing this out. So you have to try and sort of remember everything that you're writing here, which is a bit of a problem for most people. And remember to close here. And then we are also going to add the persist line now. So it's going to be another set of inverted commas, another plus, and then we're going to say persist security info, and we're going to set this to false. All right, then we close, and then after that we add another set of inverted commas. We put a plus there anyway, and then now inside there we're gonna put in a password, which is gonna be random. Just we're gonna put whatever we want as a password. All right, so I'm gonna go get OLEDB, then colon database password, which is equal to, I'm just gonna put a lot of stars there. That doesn't really matter. All right, you can put whatever you want. Really, it really doesn't matter. Okay, so that is going to be closed off. In fact, you no longer need that, so I can just take that out. Right, so that line there is closed. You can see that this line is very long and it doesn't fit right in the frame, in this frame we're working on here. So you can press Ctrl D as a shortcut and see what happens, or you can just simply go to edit and then say format source. So you can see there's that Ctrl D I was talking about. You see? Then everything now is within this window frame that we're working with. Let me do this. Yeah, so everything is right in here and it's perfect. And we're gonna have to specify our provider again. So obj connection dot provider. For some reason we have to do this again because without it it really doesn't work, you know. And then I'm not gonna type this again, I'm just gonna copy that. I'm gonna test if this line is even necessary. Let me copy inverted commas as well. So we're gonna have that, copy, then I close it here, then I close it there. All right, and then we're gonna have to open the connection. That's another thing. So it's going to be obj connection, which is going to be dot open. That's just an open without any parentheses. All right, so what we've done so far, we have just created our method which will take care of our connection. This method connects it to the database. So now all we're going to do is to run the program in search of any errors, and then if there are no errors, now we are then going to connect to the specific tables in the database, because all that this coding is doing, it's actually just connecting our program to the entire database. But now we need to be specific as to which tables we want to connect to. All right, so let me save that and run it and check for any type of error. As you can see, there are no errors whatsoever and nothing is being displayed over there. All right, so the next thing that we're going to move to now is creating our tables. And like I said, we usually use ADO tables before. So we're going to use ADO tables here, but we're not going to drag them from the DB group here. So let's go and define them as well. So here I'm coming back, I'm defining my two tables. So when I create a program, I usually ensure that my ADO components have the same names as the tables that they are referring to. All right, so in the database, we have TBL employees and TBL payments. So I'm going to have that here as well. So I'm going to have TBL employees, comma, because these have the same data type, so I don't have to write them twice. So it's going to be TBL payments. Take note of the convention that I'm using here. I put a prefix, then I have a capital letter to show you that that's where the actual name of the component starts. Right? This will be of the type TADO table. Right? But doing this, I'm saying I need to have two tables. Right? Now that I've defined these, I need to actually create these tables, make them exist. And the first line is going to be this line, similar to this one. I need to make the table exist, and then I need to place it somewhere. So I'm going to place it in this form that is imaginary, that we cannot really see. And again, the ADO tables are also not visible, so we are not going to find the parent for them, just like you usually do when we working with creating buttons and labels or other components dynamically. All right, so we're going to go TBL employees. I'm going to start with that. TBL employees will be equal to TADO table dot create, calling the constructor now, and then inside there, this will be placed in the form. All right. So now that I've created the table and placed it on the form, it requires a connection. Which connection am I going to use? OBJ connection. This is it requires a connection string. So this instance variable connection, OBJ connection, will give us the connection string that we so require. All right. So now we're going to go down there and say OBJ going to be TBL employees dot connection, which will be OBJ connection. All right. And once that is done, I need to specify the table that I'm linking with this ADO table. So I'm talking about the table now in the database. So I'm going to specify the table name. So TBL employees dot table name must be equal to, and the name of the table is, you guessed it right, TBL employees. All right. And then after that, I need to open the table so that I can start manipulating the data in the table. This is going to be TBL employees dot open. All right. Once that is done, I need to do the very same thing for the other table. So you guessed it right. I cannot write coding again. I need to use the tools available, which are copy and paste. All I have to do now is to change here and put payments. And I'm going to copy the word payments, and I'm going to put it everywhere I see employees. In an exam, this will save you a whole lot of time, but in an exam, you are never required to write this out. You find the database already connected for you, so which is not a trend smash, so to speak. So that is done. So this connects us to the database. So now we connect to the entire database, and then here in this two groups of coding, we are connecting to the specific tables in the database. All right, now that we've connected to our tables, if you've been paying attention, there is one potential error that I'm seeing in this coding, and it's right here. One did not specify the extension of the database, which is .mdb. So when you're going to be reading external files, you always have to specify the extension. If it's a song, then .mp3 or .wave. If it's a picture, it's going to be .png or jpg. But you have to specify the extension of the external files to allow the operating system to assist you there. All right. Now, if you are to display stuff in a big grid, you are going to need a data source, because this does not have data, so you must receive data from somewhere, a data source. So we need to define a data source which is going to link this to the data in the database. All right. So we are going to define two data sources: a data source for employees, a data source for payments. So I'm going to have DS, data source, employees, and I'm going to have DS, a data source for payments. All right. And then this is going to be of type T, because it's not an ADO, eh? So it's going to be T data source. It's not an ADO component to this one. So T data source. So I've defined my data sources, drag them, drop them from there. So they are my data sources. So now here, I'm going to use the instance variables to create the object, to create the instances of the data sources, and then place them on the form. So it's going to be DS employees, which will be equal to T data source dot create, calling a constructor that create, and then it's going to be the form, who's the owner. Now the data source can either send the entire table to the DB grid, or can send portions of the table to the DB grid if we are running an SQL, for instance. So for that reason, since it does not send one size of data set, we need to tell the computer as to what data set do we want to send initially. When the program runs, what data set do we want? We want the entire table or just a portion of the table? So in this case, we want to see the entire table. So we're going to have to define the data set. So it's going to be DS employees dot data set, which will be, in this case, going to be the table, TBL employees. So TBL employees. As you can see, this is an ADO table that I'm using. And the ADO table here, we link it to a table in the database called the TBL payments. All right. So I'm going to need to do that. The same for teachers. Sorry, for the program created for teachers. So for payments. So I'm going to have, I've had typed payments before, so I'm going to have to go there and say copy that. Then everywhere I see employees, employees, and then that's such start. So now the data source has been defined. All right. Now the DB grid still does not know that it's data that's going to come to it. So we need to create a method that is going to tell the DB grids which data to display. All right. So that method is what we're going to create right now. So it's going to receive DB grids as parameter, two DB grids as parameters, because you remember we have two DB grids, this one and that one. So this DB grid will be received as a parameter so that we can feed them the data that they need to display. All right. So that's what we're going to be taking care of. Let me just save that. So we're going to have to go and define another method over here. So we're done with this connection method now. Maybe before we do that, let's check for errors. Let's just run it. No error whatsoever. So now we're going to define another method over here. So it's going to be a procedure. And I'm going to call this one connect DB grids. Connect DB grids. DB grids. And like I said, it's going to receive the DB grids that side. So I need to define variables inside there, which are going to be my parameters. And now, since we are sending in a component as a parameter, we're going to have to start with, say, var. Because you see here, these are components that we're defining here. So we're going to say var, we're going to define them there now. So var, db grid. I'm going to call this one db grid E for db grid for employees, and then I'm going to have db grid P for payments. All right, and these will be of the type db grid. TDB grid. Right, and then now to create this method, okay, we need to close it. Now that's it. Now we're going to click there and say Shift Control C. Then this creates this method over here. So when we receive the two DB grids, then what is going to happen to them? We are going to tell them which data source to use. So the first DB grid, which is DB grid employees, we're going to give you the data source must be equal to DS employees. See, simple enough. And then we're going to go DB grid, DB grid P dot data source, which must be equal to DS payments. All right. So by doing this, we are saying we're going to receive two DB grids, and those DB grids, their data sources should be these ones. So the first DB grid will receive this data source. The second DB grid will receive this data source. Again, the name of these DB grids, I made them different on purpose because I want to show you that they don't necessarily have to be the same. All right. So now each time I need to use something that is here, I will first need to connect to the database. Then after connecting to the database, I can make use of anything that I want. So, which means this is the first method I'm going to call. All right. So let's go to the other side now. We're going to save this part. Let's run it to check for errors. No errors. So we're going to save this part so everything is saved up. Now we're coming back here to do the coding. So when the program runs, the first thing that I want to see data in these DB grids. So that's what we're going to do this side basically, to connect to the other unit, which is this one, and use a method for connecting the database, and then use a method to feed data to the DB grids so that we can see some results here. All right, so that's what we're doing now. So I'm going to select the form. As you can see, form 1 is selected. I'm going to select the form. Then I'm going to go to the events, and I'm going to use on show. So when this form is shown, the first thing I need to do is to connect to the other unit and utilize a method to connect to the database. Then we connect to the database. After connecting to the database, we need to give the DB grids that we have here to that method so that data can be displayed. So if I want to use methods in this class, I'm going to need an instance variable of the type tConnection. So I'm going to create that. This side, let me just create it here. I'm going to have obj. I'm going to call this one obj connect so that we don't get confused, which is of the type T plus. Oh, what am I doing? tConnection. Now you'll notice that there will be an error here to an undeclared identifier. Why is that? Because we haven't linked the two units. So you can link the two units by writing the name of the other units on the uses part of this unit. So I'm going to write db, because that's the name there. Or I can just copy it from the side. Let me not be lazy. db connection underscore u. And the error is gone now. So now they know this guy. So we're going to be using obj connect to get to the other side and use methods that are there. So that's the first I'm going to do. So I need to connect to the database. In this method, we have a method called procedure db connect. It's called db connect, okay? And this method does the connection for us. It connects to the database and then connects the tables and then define the data sources, all right? But it does not link the data sources with the DB grids. So we're going to say obj connect So now, and I'm going to say dot. As you can see, I'm getting all the method the other side. So I need the first one. Okay. So this method is going to connect my program to the database. Now that I know I have the connection done, the next thing that I need to do is to go obj connect dot connect DB grid. Remember that method? Connect DB grid. And look, it needs two DB grids. So I have two DB grids here. I have DBG, and now I need to link this carefully. DGBE, so this is for employees. So I need to select the second one. Why did I say teachers? Let me go and modify that. It's employees and payments. Okay, let's go and modify that quickly. This problem that I did yesterday is stuck in my head. So this one, I said it's teachers, but it's actually employees. All right, now that is done, I might as well just take this part because I need it now. I'll type this twice. I'm lazy like that. Then I'm going to come back there and say Control V, but it requires two, so I need to also add DBG payments, and then this method is going to go there and define the data sources for the DB grid. Then the DB grid should know what to display. Yeah, let's check for errors. Could not find installed ISM. Now we're going to have to search for that error and see where we went wrong, or where I went wrong in this case. But usually when I get this error, it's because I wrote this long irritating line incorrectly. So I always have my little backup friend, and this friend is here. So I'm going to take that as is, because this one I've set is on point. So I'm going to take all of that, copy that, and replace this. Control V. Then let's try it again. It's the file that I've referred to that is not known, which is this one. I just need to change this one and say payments DB. Right, and then we try it again. Yep, that's where the issue was. This line is too long not to make mistakes. So as you can see, the data here is showing and it's looking lovely, 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 lovely. All right, so now we've connected our database dynamically. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do now, I'm going to make an example of how to run SQLs in this database. Once that is done, then we'll be sorted. And the SQLs, I'm going to run one select SQL. So I'm going to do the setup for a select SQL, and then I'm also going to do a setup for update, delete, and insert, because usually those require a similar setup. All right, so I'm going to do this two setups only. Then I'm going to run two SQLs, and then that's it. All right, so that's that. Now, in order for us to run queries, we also need to add ADO query, excuse me. We're also going to need ADO query. So I'm going to go there. And again, each table is going to have its own ADO query component. So I'm going to start with QRY for query, and then it's going to be employees. And then I'm going to have QYR to RY. This is going to be payments. Okay, and these will be of the type TADO query. That's it. Same thing. We create it, place it on the table, and once we've placed it on the table, sorry, on the form. Once you've placed it on the form, then we're going to have to define their data source. All right. Sorry, their connection. All right. So we're going to create these ADO queries, place them on the form, and then define the connection because they require a connection string as well. I'm going to do that down here. So I'm going to go, sorry, it's going to be QRY employees, which is going to be equal to TADO query dot create, and then inside there it's the form, which doesn't exist, and then it's going to be QRY payments, which will be equal to TADO query dot create, and then it's going to be the form. Okay, for each I need to define the connection string, so it's going to be QRY employees dot connection, which should be equal to the OBJ connection, right? OBJ connection. And I have to do the same thing below, so I'm just going to copy that and just say QRY and then QRY payments, I'm going to paste that. All right, so now I'm setting up the queries. So my ADO query components will be handling the queries. All right, so I'm going to define two methods. One which is going to run queries that have a select command with them, and then another one which can run queries that have either an update or a delete or an insert. All right, so we need to now have that set up done so that we are able to work with SQLs now. So we're going to need those two methods to be created. So I'm going to go right up and define them. So I'm going to call this one procedure. Now remember, we're going to be writing the queries this side, but they're going to be processed this side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have coding for queries, which will receive the SQLs as a parameter, and then the processing is going to be done within this unit. Okay. So now once that is done, we're going to be good to go. So I'm going to call this one run select SQLs. Yeah. Run select SQLs. And then, like I said, I'm going to receive a parameter here, which is going to be a string. I'm going to call it as SQL. And then I'm going to go, this is going to be of the type string. Super snazzy, snazzy. Right, and then I'm going to have another procedure, which is going to be taking care of the other types of queries. So I'm going to say run, I'm going to say other SQLs. And here as well, I'm going to receive SQL as a parameter, which is a string. Right. Then we're going to go Shift Control C. That is going to create both these methods. Now we need to add coding here. So it started with others. Okay, it's fine. I'm going to start with the coding for others, which is not a problem. Okay. So it's always good practice to clear the SQL function or procedure, and then you can add the SQL. Okay, so I'm going to start with that. I'm going to go QRY. Okay, I'm going to run one SQL from one table and then run the other SQL from the other table. So I don't know. Let me look at the tables and see which one I want to run. So here I have employees, and then so I'm going to start with employees. It comes first. There's no order. So employees, dot SQL dot clear. So this component, whatever SQL that was held in this ADO query, is going to be cleared so that I'll be able to add my own. You know how it is. QRY. In fact, since I'm going to be saying QRY employees a lot, you can actually simplify the coding, but we're going to do that if you want. Okay, query, and then we're going to say dot SQL dot add, and then we're going to add what? The parameter, which is SSQL. And then we're going to close that, and then we're going to request that our SQL gets executed. I'm tired of writing this thing all over again. Copy that, then I paste it there. But there's a way of writing this thing once and work with it forever. So I'm going to say dot execute SQL, and then I close that. Now, it's good practice, to write a message which is going to say certain queries, so it's a certain number of records has been changed, So I'm going to write a show message, and inside there, I'm going to get the number of the rows that have been affected by my query, and that's going to return an integer, right? Of course, show message only displays strings, so I'm going to say int to string, and then inside there, I'm going, I don't know why I'm having that there, but we're going to find out. Let me see, undeclared via int string. Okay, it's definitely a library which is missing at the top, which we're going to add just now. I thought I added standard controls. Okay, now we need to find out which library this belongs to. System utils. Let's go and see. Okay, system utils is not there. Let me add that. System utils. Does it solve our problem? Yes, it does. Okay, system utilities. So we're going to now go to, in fact, I'll copy this, Control V, and then dot rows affected, which will return an integer, as you can see. So once we get the number of rows affected, now we can add some software message and go plus and put another string there, space there, and say records. Or because it could be one record, so I'm going to put S there, rows modified. All right. So, if you like and say affected, it is really entirely up to you. So that's what I'm going to do. All right. Now, you'll remember that the data set was set to display the entire table, if you remember correctly, initially. So if you come this side, if you go up here, you can see that the data set here has been set to display the entire table. Where is that there? So it can display the entire table, but now it's only a portion of the table that we want to display. So we're going to have to set that again. All right, so it's going to be ds, so the data source employees dot data set now is going to change. It's going to be a query now. So it's going to be equal to that, this query. It's no longer an entire table now, it's going to be that only. All right, we might as well write the coding for this program as well. And for this one, it's got fewer. But now with this one, there's a little bit more that we're going to need to write, and it's going to be longer than this one. Because remember, you're modifying the table there. So we want to see updates being shown automatically. So we're going to have to close the table, open the table, and refresh the table. Okay, I think closing and opening will refresh the table, but we don't know. Let's try that. So it's going to be um, TBL employees dot close. Then we're going to have to open it again. TBL employees dot open. I'm going to put the refresh line there, but I'm not so certain that we need it. Employees dot refresh. In fact, what if I don't close the table? I just run this line alone. So those are some of the things that we're going to test with our program. But we're not going to need that for select statement, because remember, we're just displaying the data which is already in the database. We're not making changes to it. So there's no need to refresh the table. Okay. So all we have to do basically is to write out the code of what needs to be displayed. So like I said, here I've used employees table. For select statement, I'm going to use the payments table, if that's okay. Okay. So I'm going to go where I control space. Oh, what is that now? Sorry about that. No, leave me alone. Control space, and then we're dealing with payments. And then we're gonna say dot close. If it was open, this is good practice, because you don't know if you run a program once, then you come back again, you run it again. So it needs to close then reopen to ensure that it's running the current. In fact, I'd also need to copy that. Control space and then payments. I'm gonna copy this now. Copy payments dot SQL, just like we did before. Dot clear. I know it seems redundant, but I've made it a habit. Dot SQL dot add, and then we're going to be adding what this SQL we're going to receive. So SQL. Okay, I don't like it like that. SQL. That's more like it. And then we're going to open this query now. Dot open. And we're going to have to change the data set now. This line is not closed, it's our green error there. Now we're going to have to go DS payments dot data set should be equal to this query. So I'm changing the data set now. It shouldn't display the entire table, but just this. All right, so now we have methods that are ready to run SQLs. So let me run just to check for errors. No errors whatsoever. So this is a data being displayed, no issues there. All right, so now we're going to have to come back this side to call these methods and send in some SQLs. All right, so I'm going to, with this one, employees, like I said, employees, it's where we run the update, whatever. Okay, so let's run the program so I can see what it is that I can update. Let's change the payment for someone with a certain employee number. We're going to change them to this one. Let's say this one is paid now, so we're going to change this Neil Rihanna to true. Yeah. Okay, we're going to change. So this one has got employee number 7. Right, so let me just put in a button. So I'm just going to add a button there. So I'm just going to change the caption only. Update payment info. The I should be kept a letter there. Info. All right, so let's go run that. So for me to run this, I will need to first connect to the database. because I'm not connected with a database. In fact, I'm already connected to a database because when I run the program, it displays data for me, so which means I'm already connected. So I can just go ahead and call the method. I'm still going to be using this variable, so I'm going to say obj connect dot run other SQL. So then it requires a string there. So I'm gonna put a string, and my string is update, which table? DBL employees. Is it employees or payments? What did I say? Okay, I think it's employees. Employees, and then set payment equal to true, where employee number is equal to 7. Remember that nil is number 7. Okay, so let's send this SQL in and see what happens. So let's confirm nil. It's false, so we change that to true. So let's run that. Spelling. And every time it can find the table, it's spelling of the table. So it, I'm gonna stop it there. The issue is not there, it's in my SQL. Employees, WE. Oh God, WE, then run that. Let me see, message parameter payments, the table. Oh, it's payments DB. Payments DB. Hey, I'm making a lot of mistakes. In fact, let me go and check that field. I think it's payments. Let me see that. Oh, sorry, permanent. Not payment. Oh my God. Permanent. Okay, so employment status, not payment status. God. One record modified. Okay, let's run it again and see if that has changed, but it should update it automatically. I don't know why. Yes, it has changed now. It's true. But why is it not displaying it at the same time? Let me, because it's closing it and then opening it. Let me go and change that very quickly. Let me come back here and maybe prevent it from closing. Maybe let's try to just refresh and see what happens. All right, so I'm going to, okay, modifying the same person. Let's change this person back to not being permanent. So we're going to put false there now. False. All right, now once that is done, and I want to change the caption now, so I'll feel good after changing the caption. Effect, even the info. Employment. Info is okay. Info. Okay. So let's run it now and update. It's not refreshing it. And only when you come back, then you check nil, it's full again. It's working, but now I need it to update and show me the data straight away. Okay, but it's fine. It does what we want it to do. I'm gonna solve that problem later. For now, let's move on to payments and run the query there as well. Display certain things. Okay, let's run the program and see what kind of data we're working with. So, hang on. There's Okay, now I'm working with employees now, not payments, employees. Okay. All right, let me see. So this permanent field is common between these two, which is fine. Okay, let's go there, and now we're gonna display all the permanent employees, right? In fact, you can put in a combo box. You can throw in a combo box. I like that. Combo box. So we're gonna have a combo box there, which is gonna have 2 items. Combo box. So permanent. In fact, why am I using a combo box? I need a button there. Sorry about that. Let me put a button. If I were to use a combo box, how would I use it? Yeah, if I want to show the permanent ones, those are not permanent. Yeah, let's use a combo box. I have an idea of how we're gonna do this. Let's use a combo box. Okay, so I'm gonna put 2 items. I'm not gonna rename the combo box, so it's combo box 1, doesn't matter. So I'm gonna change this and say select, and then I put the aesthetics there. Sorry, and then I'll need items. Then I'm gonna put permanent, not permanent. Okay. So when I run this program, so if I come here, I put in the God. Okay. So here, we'll ask me, okay, if I click here and say permanent, I want to see only the people that are permanent. And if I click here and say not permanent, I want to see only the people that are not permanent. Okay. So let's go and write the code. I will click there. So when this changes, so if combo box 1 dot item index equal to 0. Remember, the first item is in position 0. So if it's 0, then I'm gonna call the method and run a different SQL. Okay, so I'm gonna go obj. What am I doing? Obj dot run select SQLs. Then I'm gonna have to go select star. I want all those. So select star from TBL employees where permanent is equal to true. And my else copy. I have to remove that. Say else. Else. Then I'm going to change this and say false. For some reason, I like writing booleans starting with a capital letter. Okay, so that's what I want to happen. If I select the first item, then I need to see only those that are permanent. If I select the second item, I need to see only those that are not permanent. Okay, let's check it out, see if there are any issues. Okay, permanent, there. So it works out. It updates it. No issues whatsoever. And a permanent. Now, if I run it a second time, Now I'm gonna need to sort that out. Okay, but bottom line is you can see the SQL is not running. The only issue that is there now is updating this. Because let me try it again. Let me close this and let me say not permanent. Hang on. Oh, I said else. And if this is 1. So if I select that, if I select this, then these are the people that are not permanent, false. If I select that, then I see the people. Okay, but now there is one issue that I want to solve before we part ways. So let's run the program. So I'm more curious about this first SQL. So let's run it. Let's see. So if I say permanent, okay, this one works out, that's fine. No issues there. If I come to this one, when I update, let's change someone else. Let's change the first one, employee number 3. We want to change that to false. So employee number equal to 3. So we run it. So do that. It tells us this is modified, but doesn't display anything back. We're gonna need to go and check the table and see what's happening there. So not the table, the coding. Ah, there it is. The data set needs to go back to being the table. All right. So I'm going to go TBL employees. We need to see the data set needs to be the updated table. Unlike here. Here, I only need that data to be shown. It's either the permanent employees or the permanent employees that are not permanent. But here, after making changes to the table, I want to see the changes immediately. Okay, now I want to test this as well. If I need those lines, something tells me I don't. So let me try that. Okay, so first now what I need to change. We need to change this side, the SQL, and the SQL now must do employee number. Okay, let me run the program so we can see whom we want to modify. That means, let's say employee number 4. Number 4, we want to change it to true. Let's say someone is already false. So number 5 is false. We want to change that to true. Let me see. Oh, the coding already. Okay, we're going to change number 5 to true. And we're going to change that and say 5. Let's try it now. Right, so we've gone there. Run it. One recorded, changed. There. I don't need those lines. So yeah, it updates. So you can see number 5. There, number 5 now is true, which is perfect. But now you may want to have a dynamic SQL. So why don't we enter this number via an input box or a speed edit? So let me go there. Let me go there and add the spin edit. So I'm going to the person I want to modify. I'm going to select that person from the spin edit. Spin edit. So there. Okay, and we saw that the records start from 2. Let me run the program. I don't want to be out of range for whatever reason. So employee number start from 3. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 29. So it's 3 to 29. So when I set my minimum, just so maximum value is 29, minimum value is 3, right? So I thought I should just set that right out. Then we're going to modify the SQL here to receive the value from there. And my spin edit is called spin edit 1. I'm not going to modify it. So spin edit 1. And remember, spin edit gives us an integer. So this 5 here, also the value is spin edit is an integer. So what do you do? All you do is just put another set of inverted commas plus, and then inside there, spin edit 1 dot value. So now the employee that we want to modify is going to come from the spin edit now. Isn't that great? So let's try it out. Here is string and integer. String. What happened? Oh, I see. Okay, let's write again. Okay. Oh yeah. So this will have to be converted to a string. So I'm gonna say int to string, and then I'm gonna have to close it there as well. But remember, if I was taking the value from an edit, I wouldn't have to convert. But a spin edit has integer values, and a string and an SQL is a string, so I have to convert the value I'm going to get from spin edit from being an integer to being a string. So let's go try it out. Let's change number 7, because we're saying to true. Number 7 is false, so let's change number 7. There, it's changed. Number 7 is true. Number 7 is true. And if you want, after updating, you can tell the computer that you want the first record to appear. So you can modify that. You can modify the coding here to say show the updated table from the beginning. Not because if you notice, it shows us, it starts where the change has been made. So what if we made 1,000 changes? So we can go there. We can go there and say TBL employees dot first. So it doesn't matter where you made the changes are just going to be applied. And I want to add another variable here. I want to add another combo box. See, so that we can change this as well. So I'm going to add another. So I'm going to enter that, and then inside the plus plus, and then I'm going to say edit 1 dot text. I know this edit doesn't exist yet, but it's only a matter of time. So I'm gonna, in fact, let me put a combo box. Let me make it a combo box. So combo box. I know it's not there yet, or maybe let me put it first, but I think it's going to be combo box 2. That's my thinking. So I'm going to add another combo box here. Another combo box. So this one's going to hold only 2 items, true and false. So let me say select status. Okay, and then I'm going to go to items of this. Items, select status, there's true, there's false, I. false. Right? It's okay. So I'm going to select a value here, the person I want to modify and their status. Okay, which should work out just fine. So I want to add to this. This one is now combo box 2. I knew it was going to be combo box 2. So it's going to be, I want to select one of those items. Combo box 2 dot items. And then I'm going to open square bracket. Then combo box 2 dot item index. See, SQLs gets really interesting now. So now I can say I want to modify number 3. Number 3 is true. I want to make false. All right. So there, false. And I want number 13. So just gonna say 13. 13 happens to be true. So I want it to be false. So there, it's changed, false. So the program is working perfectly now. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching my video and expect more videos on this channel. Please do me a favor, give this a thumbs up if it did help you. Thank you a lot for watching. Look out for more videos, more interesting videos, even on Photoshop that we're going to be putting up for your amusement and for you to better your skills. From us at Inanda Newtown Comprehensive High School, thank you.